everyone, and welcome to the Quill and Tankard version of Maester Monthly. For the next 7 weeks, we are going to recap on the Game of Thrones episodes here on the Quill and Tankard, so come join us! Tonight's podcast, as most of them are, is spoilers extended, so that means expect us to talk about what goes on in the books, what goes on in the show, which is past the books. Also, we're going to talk about maybe, things from trailers and predictions, as well as things from The Winds of Winter, YOLO.
No leaks.
Yeah, no
leaks.
We are not, though, discussing any of the leaks.
Or production.
No onions, no leaks, no production, spoilers, just things that...
Legitimate news, not fake news.
Just things that HBO's released or George R. R. Martin has released. I am one of your hosts, Eliana, also known as Glass Table Girl.
I'm another one of your hosts, JoeMagician, also known as Matt.
And I'm Aaron. I'm, here.
What's your username?
It's AdmiralKird.
Word.
Nice.
Word. And I'm Fat Walda.
Unfortunately, Michael won't be able to join us this week. He's off quilling and tankarding elsewhere.
Because he sucks.
Got him. Burn. Sick burn.
Yes, we've offered Michael to relore in hopes that tonight's cast will go well.
It's okay, we can just assume he said something clever.
I got it.
I get it.
Boom.
Boom. So for tonight's show, we're going to go through all the things that happened in Season 7, Episode 1, Dragonstone of Game of Thrones, and talk about some things that we noticed, as well as highlighting some really interesting posts and the nicest of catches on our ASOIAF. So for the first scene, let's talk about Arya at the Twins.
There was a really great comment from the discussion thread by user Fleur de Lis. Said, I gotta give a shout out to David Bradley. I knew that was coming. His performance still gave me chills. Should get an Emmy for guest performance for his role as Arya Stark. And then Princess Leia Air 80 responded, I was impressed with the subtle differences in expressions and smug little smiles that shows how great of an actor he is. And thinking back to it, yeah, there was something off about Walder right away. And that was a really great piece of acting to let you know that this wasn't a flashback. I thought it was a flashback at first, but like they were saying, that his mannerisms were just like a little bit off from the Walder we know.
It's because he should have been at Hogwarts.
When I was first watching it, I was like, oh, are you going to see how Arya, made the pies or something? I'm like, why are we back at the twins? We already saw this scene, didn't we? Where...
Yeah, and then my husband was like, is he going to kill them all? Like, he was genuinely confused. And then he was like, oh, right, he's already dead. This is Arya.
Oh god, there was this great comment that I saw that not only was it Arya kills them all by poisoning them, it's in some ways kind of a callback, or maybe not a callback, but similar to when Joffrey dies, he gets poisoned by the wine at his wedding.
Because it was on the inside, or the preview for the episode of Walder Frey dying.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they weren't ever going for any kind of surprise here. It was just supposed to be a good scene. It was just going to be a way to clean up some loose ends that were left at the end of last season.
Loose ends being phrase.
Yeah. That was a nice touch, because then, everyone at the very beginning, they're like, what's going on? We literally just saw this guy die. Is this a flashback? And then it suddenly clicks what's going on. And it's just building that tension of when's it going to happen.
So did she leave any Freys alive? Who's the heir to the Riverlands now?
Those women?
Yeah.
Well, apparently it was all the Freys that mattered that were there. So I guess somebody who doesn't matter.
Well, we know at the very least Rosalind Frey should be alive somewhere.
Because she would have been with Edmure having the baby and whatnot.
Yeah, she didn't free Edmure.
Where's Edmure?
Edmure was locked in the cell at the end of last season because Walder Frey remarks to Jaime, I got Edmure locked back up in a cell.
Edmure's son is now the heir to the Riverlands in 3 different ways. Way to go, Edmure.
Hashtag free Edmure 2017.
I guess Arya wouldn't know that he was down there, would she?
I don't know. Do you think she killed everybody in the castle? I'm assuming the jailers were just let him out at some point. They're like, oh, everybody's dead. All right, you can go.
I don't know. It depends on who came to power. Rosalind wasn't his first daughter.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly who.
That's true.
I'm sure that they're just going to hand wave at this point. It's basically them saying like, hey, the Freys are gone, they're out of the picture, etc.
But the Tullys,
let's move on.
The Tullys, like, would have been the Lord Paramount, so, I mean, Edmure should still... Yeah.
It should default to him, I guess.
Well, yeah, they're the heir to the River Run, but not the twins.
Right. But I guess if he's Lord Paramount, he can do a lot of what he wants.
Except get out of the cell.
I'm just guessing it's going to get reassigned later. That Cersei's going to have somebody she wants to buy off, and she'll give the Riverlands to them. It just won't end up being Edmure on paper, that kind of thing.
Were there any good posts that people liked about this scene?
I saw an interesting tinfoil that I'd never seen bandied about before. It was a post from Nat O Fan talking about whether or not it's possible that Arya could use her faceless man face-changing skills to be Cersei's Valanquar. So that she would steal Jaime's face and kill Cersei as Jaime.
Maybe, but it's not really clear in the books if that passes because of the height difference. In the show, they use like cinematography to make it trick you to thinking, okay, this is Walder Frey, so you have Bradley standing up, and then they just cut to Arya like standing on a chair or something there when she pulls her face back, and that's... I don't know in the books, though, that the height difference is... Because she changes face into like little kids and stuff.
Yeah.
Never adults. Like Beth.
I know when Mance and Rattleshirt, when Mance is being glamoured to look like Rattleshirt, he does change size before John's eyes, I think, after the ruby gets removed. Like his body all changes and everything. But that would be saying, is what Arya doing the same as that? And that's a whole other question.
Yeah.
It's not. Well, so in Feast for Crows, they go over this. It's like this... There's a whole curriculum of things that one learns while at Faceless Men University, in the House of Black and White. So it's like, first you start out with learning how to lie, controlling your face, and making your face look different just by your own facial expressions, etc. And then you start learning about disguises. That's why she's studying with some mummers. That's why, when we see Mercy with Isambaro and the players, she's learning about being a mummer and acting and doing disguises. And then the kindly man explains to her that there are also glamours, and they use glamours to disguise themselves, and that's likely what Jock and Hagar did in front of her in A Clash of Kings. But the drawback is that he says that those with a sharp eye can still be able to see through glamours. And finally, then there is the putting on of the faces. And I think that because, like, as Aaron pointed out, for her to be Jaime, she'd have to both glamour and steal his face.
Well, in the show, in A Feast for Crows, it said that she will learn tricks of glamour and stuff and all these other things. But in the show, they don't do glamour. Well, I guess Melisandre has it, but it's never. They don't go into any detail about it. Period.
I think this is a cool idea for how it could happen. I don't think Cersei would be tricked though. Like, would she really not be able to recognize somebody pretending to be Jaime right in front of her? Because it's mannerisms. It's how he speaks. Nobody knows Jaime better than Cersei. I have trouble thinking of how Arya would get to know Jaime well enough that she would trick Cersei into not remembering her own twin.
It's whatever the showrunners want to do with regards to that. She'd realize it when Jaime has two good hands. That would be the moment that she'd come to and be like, oh my god, this really isn't Jaime.
That's true.
So the next scene, we head north and see a meeting in Winterfell with Jon and Sansa. Jon and Sansa holding council with their lords, and they're organizing plans on how to begin equipping the North and preparing to go to war with the others, or the White Walkers, depending on how you feel about all that, in their army of the dead. So how does everyone feel about all the different ideas and disagreements and stuff?
Well, Sansa is still smarting that she is not queen in the North.
Yeah, I am too.
She's not keeping that one behind closed doors. She is just letting that one go out in the councils that she still thinks, even though she was very gracious and, offered it up to Jon and said, no, you should be the one in charge in not so many words. She doesn't really think that way.
I mean, I don't think that's saying that, yeah, you should be the king is relinquishing all opinion about how the North should be governed.
I was very taken aback by her first like outburst to Jon and the big count. I was like, damn, girl. Like,
if you had grown up together and you were used to just bickering with your siblings, and suddenly you're sitting at this table, but you and your sibling are in charge, you might not think about it before you...
Well, at the same time, a lot of the skills that Sansa learned in King's Landing is like knowing when it's good to speak and when not to speak about certain things.
I mean,
the whole point of her plot so far, yeah.
Social like norms and stuff, and understanding like what council is like in all these events, and that was very
right.
I don't know. It just came off as outbursty.
Well, I mean, they intended it for it to be.
Yeah.
I don't think she was right to undermine him in front of all of their subjects. We don't have any evidence that Jon has been consulting other people about these ruling decisions.
Yeah.
And he really should be. And that was something that he had problems with when he was Lord Commander, right? He didn't share any of these burdens with other people. He made all of these decisions himself and then told everybody else, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, it's because he's good at ruling.
And so
so she says.
And so the way that she broke in was not
courtly, I guess. It's not the way you're supposed to run a government in that society.
Or any government. Yeah. Period.
That doesn't mean that she didn't have a good point, and that it doesn't mean that she shouldn't have say in the governance of the North and that she shouldn't be a counselor to Jon. If Jon's not looking for it, then he's got a problem.
It felt like Sansa should have known better, but I guess this is what they were going for. She does know better, but at the same time, she's really upset about it. And there's a missing scene in here somewhere where Jon decided to hold this meeting without deciding to hold council with anyone and make these kind of decisions without consulting her or any advisors.
Yeah. Well, let's step back a little bit and let's talk about what the actual argument was about. What had happened was, after the betrayal of the Karstarks and the Umbers, they were deciding what to do with their lands and their castles. Jon decided that he wanted to let the children of those lords who had not actually rebelled because they were teenagers and kids keep their lands and bring them back into the fold of the North. Sansa's argument was that you have an opportunity here to make the people loyal to you more loyal. Forget the Karstarks and the Umbers, their lost cause. Like, give it to the Vale Knights, give it to give it to the Mormonts. Do something that helps the people that helped you. And that's sort of the breakdown between them is, do you reform the North, or you just like create a rebel faction within it, but control it because you have better allies to hold it together?
Well, wouldn't you have worse allies? Because all those houses inside of the regions of the Umbers and the Karstarks are loyal to the Umbers and the Karstarks. So it becomes, again, another the North remembers if they put different lords in there. Especially if they need to like rally them all together on the spot. Like, you're talking about a political upheaval. Like, replacing them with allies doesn't make them stronger.
But it helps his regime, maybe not the North, though. I think that was her point.
I do think, though, that there's a couple problems with the children, essentially, that are left to run these castles. First of all, if there was a split in these families where some of the people were okay with fighting against the Starks, just because the heads of these families died in the battle and sort of like paid for their treason, doesn't mean that there aren't still people in the families back at these castles that are rooting against the Starks. And now you have these pliable child lords who are there who could be still swayed against the Starks.
Child lords.
Also, the whole point was they were like, we have these two castles that are first lines of defense against the White Walkers. And Jon's like, yeah, and I'm going to put these kids in charge of them.
True.
I mean, Lyanna Mormont is a child prodigy. Maybe he's just like, I've seen what the children of Bear Island can do, and thus I have faith in the other northern children.
The correct way was probably between the two of them. You force Alice Karstark and you force Ned Umber. Was that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you force them to marry somebody from a family that was loyal to you. You make
Right.
a match, either somebody from the Vale or one of the houses that supported you.
Or the
And-
Magnar of Then.
Magnar then something. You put someone responsible in charge, you heal all the wounds, and you move forwards. But the problem was that, and I think this is something that really highlighted last season and is continuing this one, Jon and Sansa are bad at being lords at this point. They don't know what they're doing.
You shouldn't be making these decisions in real time.
Yeah.
They failed with 2 Starks. They went around the north and tried to get warriors, and they came away with very, very little.
Yeah.
And they had a great pitch. The others are coming. We're the blood of Ned Stark. Help us out. And they just didn't have the political connections and the wherewithal to make it work. And this is kind of that happening again.
It would have also helped in that scene if they would have had Ned, Umber, or Alice Karstark actually say something to speak out in their defense. Like, but they're just like standing there, and then Jon calls them forward, and they pledge their loyalty. It's not like
I think they said one thing. It was something akin of like, I do.
yeah. At the very end, they're just like, I pledged my loyalty to you for this night and all nights to come.
But I mean, like, to be fair, if I'm thinking about it, like, if I were in their position, I'd be like, I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen. I haven't
imagine
even
how
hit
terrified they
puberty.
were.
I don't know what to
There's-
do.
They're sitting there, and Sansa is saying out loud, by the way, we should burn their houses to the ground and kick them out of their homes. Right in front of them. So from Mathis Rowan in the discussion thread, in regards to the argument between Jon and Sansa, both had valid points. Jon's power cannot be absolute. At the same time, Sansa and others can't be questioning his decisions publicly. He needs his own version of the small council. And Sansa was, in that situation, was sort of acting as his hand, in the same way that, like, Tywin would talk back to Joffrey and that Ned would talk back to Robert. But Walter was saying, do this behind closed doors and set up this council. Why isn't Davos on that?
The
Why
Maester,
isn't
Yeah.
isn't Maester there? Why isn't Lord Royce on that?
Well, they want to have all this in one single scene.
Yeah.
They don't want to go back and have it and split, because this is like a whole
True.
another section of Sansa going to Jon and everything like that. But
They may do this going forward. This may be like their eye opener. Like, wow, this was not great.
It occurs to me that Sansa publicly questioning Jon like that is what we were complaining about a couple casts ago on our Thunderdome.
Which one?
Bowen Marsh. We were complaining
yes.
about Bowen
yeah.
Marsh publicly undermining Jon in front of the men, which is exactly what Sansa is doing. The only difference is that Bowen Marsh is objectively wrong.
It's also like a difference in, I think, the dynamics of government, because you actually have a similar scene when Daenerys is treating with the Ostapori slavers, and then she offers them a dragon, and Barristan is like, you what? And then
Yeah.
later on, Daenerys is like, never question my authority again in front of others. It undermines me.
They did a similar scene in the show, actually, where they were talking about whether or not they were going to hold a trial for the son of the Harpy. And they have this big discussion in front of her, and Barristan really wants to speak out, but waits until after everyone's gone and has a private discussion where he says much more frank things. That's basically what should have happened.
Yeah.
But they want to do it all in one scene, so this it's kind of weird. But it also helps show that Sansa is like really upset with the Littlefinger scene that she has later, that she's not happy.
Yeah, at all.
Because it comes out publicly, and so
She is just not having a good time with anybody.
it's what it is.
And and then no one questions when he's like, I was something, I was Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and no one's like, what are you doing here? Why aren't you on the Night's Watch? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole other discussion that I think would be interesting to have, is like, why is nobody freaked out that Jon died and was resurrected and is now fled his duties as Lord Commander?
Okay, so are we in that scene now?
About how he's such a great ruler.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So the one thing that stuck out to me with that was Sansa says that Ned was dumb and he died. He wasn't smart enough, and Robb wasn't smart enough, but you're good at ruling. And besides the fact that they're just shoehorning in another line about you're good at ruling, which is the exact same stuff that like Varys says to Tyrion so many times throughout the series over and over. Jon had the same thing happen to him. He lost his head because he wasn't good at ruling. And it's like,
and no one thinks about, and no one brings it up.
So it's not just that he died and that nobody brings it up, but also that he was just as dumb as Ned and Rob before. And it's like, does Sansa know this? Because she's clearly like saying it like, hey, you're good at this, but you're not. I don't know.
Gotta do positive reinforcement.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could see all of this as trying to build his ego up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it does follow with the but.
Right.
After that.
That actually works with what Sansa was saying earlier, where she in that conversation, he talks about how much she learns from Cersei by buttering up Jon and telling him that he has to, act confident, be a good ruler. That's kind of what the Lannisters did. They just acted like rulers, and people respected them before, even though they were being objectively awful people behind the scenes. That's kind of how Cersei just kind of rides on image a lot.
Well, yeah, that's a great point. Where's Ghost?
Budget not found.
He got cut from Battle of Bastards, like Aaron said, because they wanted to do 1-1 instead of him. Apparently Ghost was supposed to go around ripping throats like a madman. Didn't happen. They'll have him come back at some point this season, probably. When it's, relevant to battle. Or something to do with Bran.
I like this note. Who wrote this? The sexual tension note.
I did.
Between Jon and Sansa.
Yeah, especially that line about, you're the most unlike Joffrey person I've ever met. Like, whoa.
Put on the brakes, lady.
The amount of users on the sub that mentioned that it was going straight to, well, at least you're not Hitler kind of thing. It's like, who's the worst person? I guess Ramsay. She didn't go full Ramsay on him.
That's true.
It was just
Godwin's Law. Yeah.
You're better than Joffrey. Great. She's such a good ruler.
John Dwin's Law.
No, definitely sexual tension between Sansa and Jon. I ship it.
Woot toot toot. So there's an interesting post that comes from this scene by user Philip2215 called Sins of the Father. I'll just read this one aloud. Was just thinking about the scene where Jon defends the Umbers and Karstarks and how this could be some foreshadowing for when he meets Daenerys. He's probably going to face a lot of resistance from older house heads who remember what Aerys did to Brandon and Rickard. And he doesn't say this, but, he probably, and, the rest of the nation and everyone else, but, Anyways, I guess Jon will use the same logic of not blaming the child for the sins of the father to justify this. So some nice foreshadowing in the show.
That's good.
Do you want to say anything more about Littlefinger and Sansa?
I'm just going to assume you said something clever. I love it. It was so good.
I assume you meant something clever.
I love it. She just shut him down. Absolutely shut him down.
He's really out of a point where he doesn't have any, chaos left.
Or anything to trade.
And now he's
Wait till the White Walkers come. I'm sure he'll find something.
Where do I generate chaos from? I don't have any chaos. I have no ladder to climb.
Well, he's kind of out of rungs on his ladder. The top one was Sansa, and she's telling him to go eat it. So what's he gonna do next? He's traded away basically everything else he has. All the other contacts, all his lands, his businesses, they're all gone. He put it all on Sansa.
Apparently he's still leader of the Vale in the show because reasons.
It seems like Royce was doing more of that.
Yeah, but Sansa says she needs him because he controls the Vale, so.
Where's Sweet Robin?
He's off having his I'm under 18 actor and I can't work past 4 p.m. or something contract, so they don't want to have him back to work.
Wait, really?
It's something like actors that are that young can't work past a certain hour in a day, so they generally try and not have them when possible. But they have Lyanna Mormont back, so I don't know.
All right, so do we want to talk about Bran and the Wall?
Ed is best Lord Commander? Can we just...
Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
He's good at Lord Commandering.
Is he good at Lord Commandoing?
He's good at wearing that cloak Jon gave him. Really fills it out. Looks great. Nice job, Ed.
Throwback Thursday to the time that there was that post that it won one of the best ofs, right? Where Dolores Ed has dragon glass teeth.
Yes.
What?
Eating his way through the others.
Oh, yeah.
Ed's
That's
always
how we're
complained he has bad
win.
teeth. They're going to give him dragon glass teeth, and he's going to just bite his way through the others.
The Tollet sigil is 2 vertical,
Yeah.
teeth.
Dolores Ed,
pincers.
devourer of others.
And that's why they brought up the dragon glass this episode. It all comes together.
For Ed's mouth.
By user Gruzlaglatz. Anyway, it won 2016's Shiniest Tinfoil.
Bran shows up at the wall. He's He's not screen. He's screen seeing, and then he just tells Ed his life story.
Ed believes him. He's like, "You're definitely Bran Stark. Come on through." But he saw one really cool thing: the giant whites.
Oh yeah.
I always wondered if those giant corpses from Mance's thing were going to come back, and they are.
Yeah.
So I guess there's nothing the White Walkers can't raise at this point. Just all life forms are theirs.
Somebody pointed out, has a post that they're saying like, "Oh, is this Woon Woon?" I'm like, no,
it's not him.
They show 3 of them purposefully, so it's just not one giant.
It's three giants.
The 3 heads of the giant.
Oh, we need Michael to sing the last of the giants in the marimba. I thought the most interesting part of the Bran coming through is now we're really going to test it. Is the mark on Bran from the Night's King going to do anything? He's through the wall. This is it. Don't come down the wall.
Through the window. Through the wall.
Yep. Through the wall. The melt drops down my wall. All these walkers crawl.
Skeet, skeet.
Oh, skeet, skeet, ice spiders. Oh, skeet, skeet, God, ice spiders, ice crabs.
No.
This actually happened on the board. I approved some posts about this a little while ago.
Wait, really? Wait, this specifically?
Yeah.
With Lil Jon Snow and the Eastwatch boys?
Yeah. It was amazing. I'm so happy this happened.
That's our new group, guys. Lil Jon Snow and the Eastwatch boys. Listen to us on iTunes.
If Bran coming through the wall does uncharm it so that it can fall, of course Dolorous Ed was the one who let that happen.
Ooh. That'd be a typical Ed thing.
I tried to rescue not just a kid, Jon's brother, right? I went and rescued Jon's brother and it completely broke the charm on the wall.
So you're saying Ed should have instantly just killed Bran.
It'll matter if they want it to matter or it doesn't have to. Like, the point of him being touched before was so they could find where the cave was and they could go invade it and also break through the spells that were protecting whatever the three-eyed raven is in the show. But if they want to extend it to, like, demystifying the wall, they can do that if they want, or they can find a different way through. Like,
it'll just be cool to see these theories tested.
Does the horn exist in the show?
No.
Not even the one from the Fist of the First Men?
Jon didn't find it?
They've never brought up the Horn of Jormungand, period. Sam finds the horn at the Fist of the First Men because it's, like, thrown into the script. And they would have brought it up in a couple of episodes when Sam was traveling back to the Citadel, but it's never brought up again.
Right.
Speaking of Sam, south of the wall, Sam is having a pretty crappy time over at the Citadel. Wait, has not someone else called it the Citadel yet?
I don't know, but you just did. So
yep.
Ding, ding, ding! You're the winner.
Coined.
Yeah. So basically, we see something we haven't seen in Game of Thrones before, where we have a training montage of Sam doing a bunch of duties and just feeding people, reading books, hating life, as one does.
Ends up joining Professor Slughorn's Slug Club. Tries to get in the restriction section.
Yeah. Two Hogwarts professors in Westeros. And so any cool thoughts or posts about this moment?
There's a great post about the montage being an Edgar Wright scene. Edgar Wright, of course, I believe, director of the Hot Fuzz ice cream trilogy, whatever you want to call it. The stuff with Simon Pegg.
Cornetto.
That where he like shoots these very quick like shots between to show a montage. This post was by Oxidat, spelled backwards is Todisco.
The way it was going back and forth between like the gruel and the water and the poop and the gruel and the water and the poop, and it just made me think of the more she drank, the more she shat.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool that we got to skip all the training of Sam becoming like a novice maester. It's just out of the way now. We're past it.
Yeah. It's a good way to show that.
They went right to the point. He's now trying to find rare books. This is what he's at the Citadel for. apparently none of the rest of that is for anything.
Something that I noticed because we were talking about cinematography previously, I quite liked how they, in the montage, they would like sometimes show Sam behind the gates that lead to the restricted book area, and it gives the impression that, Sam feels like a prisoner here in the Citadel.
He's come down here to learn all this knowledge, and the knowledge that he needs is racked away up behind these bars, and he can't get at them. And it's just off limits to him, which is somewhat surprising that I guess it would be in the restricted section. I guess maybe they could have gone into this a bit more, saying like, yeah, these texts are kind of strange and they have like magical elements, and we're not really keen on letting people know about these kind of texts sort of thing if you're a novice, because it pollutes your mind and stuff with falsities. Right. But instead they're just like, they're restricted.
Just don't go in, man.
They could have like shaped it up a bit more, but otherwise it's like Archmaester Unknown who says like, I believe you, but oh well, sucks for you.
And to go into
good luck when you get your chain.
It's also weird that like the restricted books, because you can kind of see that one book.
Yeah, it says open.
Yeah, like it's just like right there. Why don't they have like a closed door, or why is it so close to all the other books? I guess
they want you to want to get in.
That's true. They makes them feel powerful.
I was thinking about those scenes too, and going back to the prison thing. Do you guys notice across all the bookshelves, there's just chains everywhere? They're just hanging from everything. Not even the restricted books. Like, what's going on there?
Don't they chain the books to the shelves?
Why?
I expected that's how they did it, but the ones in the restricted section aren't chained because they just expect people to...
They have a gate?
Yeah, like they're not expecting people to take them for whatever reason, because they're maesters and it's restricted.
It just sort of adds to the ambiance that there's chains and bars everywhere. Sam is not doing what he wants to.
It's like more than 2 chains, and I just don't even know what to do about it.
There's so many more.
Exactly.
I was going to say, was anybody else kind of excited that Sam was in there doing like an autopsy and not freaking out about it? Like, he seemed like he was doing a good job. Like, the maester trusted him with what he was doing, and he wasn't flinching. Like, the dude handed him a liver, and he's just like, liver, I'm going to weigh it. Yeah. Having a conversation. I was like, yeah, go Sam.
I mean, once you handle everyone's poop, like, I'm pretty sure everything else is easy.
Yeah, although it does bother me that they never finished weighing like the heart or whatever it was at the end.
Like the Egyptians.
Like the maester closed the book and like left, and they never weighed it. Yeah.
Another thing that I was thinking about was like how it felt so much like Pate's prologue in A Feast for Crows.
Yes.
And I was also thinking though, like with all of these maesters, Pate's is very special because he's taking care of Archmaester.
Walgrave?
Walgrave.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he's taking care of just one maester. But in this, it's like, don't they have, like, techs or something who can take care of this? Do all of their students, like...
These are questions that I also... Yeah.
They start at the bottom, they go to the top.
Of the lighthouse?
That's deep.
It was kind of like that at the wall, right? Somewhat. Like, some of the newbies would take care of the older folks. How John would have to serve Mormont's meals and stuff.
Well, Sam was also a steward, so he should have been used to cleaning up some chamber pots and stuff like that.
It's just like the worst internship ever, and everyone has to do it at these sorts of organizations.
I wonder if this could later add into Tyrion's stuff, because we see in the trailers the stuff with Casterly Rock, and we know that Tyrion has helped clean out Casterly Rock's sewer system, so maybe this is some foreshadowing for like, hey... Casterly Rock has a sewer system, unlike all these other terrible places.
These maesters can't come up with...
Could be.
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly go over Archmaester?
I liked his speech.
That everything's fine and you don't have to do anything?
Yeah, it was very reassuring. It was very, pragmatic, right? Like, we're the maesters and we're here to figure stuff out, and we have a very pragmatic approach to the world, and the line, every winter that has come has ended. Right? He's like, all through history, people have thought this was the end of the world, and then sometimes it was really tough, but it always ended.
I'm not sure that's a good message.
Well, I think that's a very Gurm message, right? I think that's a very Martin message that, like, I'm going to show you some really tough stuff, but then people are going to get through it.
Until they don't, until the long night falls and everybody's dead.
But they made it through the last one.
Right.
It works in the context of, like, if Sam is being, like, all upset about like the future of the White Walkers, and he has the books already, and he's trying to decipher how to help Jon. And Archmaester, whatever his name is trying to like reassure him.
Ebros.
Well, he doesn't have. If they don't mention it in the show, he doesn't have a name.
Okay, sorry.
It's just my philosophy. In the context, it's presented as like it's presented to be reassuring, but it's also in the context of we know what we're talking about. You don't have to do anything. It's not this reassuring message of like, Sam, you're trying really hard. You have all the information at your fingertips. Don't worry so much about it. Try and do what you can. But he doesn't. They're like intentionally keeping him from it and saying, don't worry about it.
Yeah, they're kind of like patting him on the head, being like, the adults got this. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah, it's not in the way of like just totally reassuring.
Yeah. And in context of what Sam is there to do, that's really missing the point. The White Walkers are back. They're marching on the wall. They need to start moving, stop dissecting and having the guy with the info cleaning out chamber pots and whatever.
Well, we'll see. The Archmaester didn't get the memo. He thought there was still a 5-year gap, so he thought that they still had 5 years before they had to
exactly. Do you want to talk about Jorah's part?
Ooh, Jorah the Explorer. He's one of the guys. How did he get there?
Well, he got there on a ship.
That's Jorah the Explorer.
He's like, have you seen, has Daenerys Targaryen, is she here yet? Daenerys Stormborn.
Yes, there you go.
So I guess he's there getting treatment for grayscale, which means being locked up in a dark room where nobody can get to you.
Yeah,
I don't know what else you would do for it. Just
when you're looking at medieval medicine, that sounds like one of the better treatments you could have.
True.
They must be using him as like a research specimen. They're like, we're going to try stuff on you, Jorah. Experimental treatments. I forget where I saw this, but somebody brought up an interesting point that since it looks like Euron might not sack Old Town, like he's probably going to in the books, that Jorah could be how Old Town falls if he gets out and starts spreading grayscale and the plague just goes through the place. That would be an interesting way for the Citadel to go down.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's one thing they could do with the fall of Old Town. But Sam later goes to pick up that book. He sneaks in, he steals a key, and he takes a book from inside the restricted section. He starts reading it, and people have pointed out that Dragonglass in the book is potentially a cure for grayscale.
Yes. Good people of Reddit have done a great job of deciphering the text.
Many topics on this. Many.
Yeah. One of the threads that I'm gonna, I guess, I'll call out the one by Trixlin, who's... Hold on, I want to just call out their flare. They have a Dane flare, and the flare just says, suspicious. And now I do think it is suspicious. Check out this thread. The people here go through and decipher what is said in the various pages of the book.
There was also a post before Mr. Suspicious's called by Chromos, which points out the same thing. Just FYI. There have been a couple of these.
People have noticed.
Yep. I mean, when you look at the text, it stands out pretty well. It's like it was designed to be screenshotted.
I liked the map of Dragonstone where it just said like dragon glasses here. This part right here. There's like an arrow to it. It's like, Sam Tarley, when you read this, dragon glasses right here, right in the corner of Dragonstone. I know you're going to need to know this.
Tinfoil. Someone time traveled. Bran? Maybe Bran. Bran had someone put that in the book.
Whoa. Wait. Where does it say that?
Bran wrote all the books. Every single one.
Sam was like, oh, hey, right. Stannis said that there was dragonglass in Dragonstone. I should tell Jon.
Winks at the camera. Remember that scene?
Well, and there's another thing that a lot of people caught. The familiar-looking dagger on one of the pages as Sam flips by.
Yeah, it jumps out right in your face.
Why is there a picture of a dagger?
There's another dagger, too, on the other side.
Is it just... Do you guys think this means anything? Do you think it's just like a neat callback to the cat's paw dagger?
They just want you to remember it.
Want you to remember that the dagger existed?
Well, wasn't it in the book where there was something about dragon bone at that point, too? Like, in the book as he's flipping through. And that dagger has, like, a dragon bone hilt.
Yeah.
That's true.
That it does. So next we go all the way to the other side of Westeros. We start out seeing Cersei. This whole thing starts out with Cersei and Jaime, and they are painting a map discussion in which Cersei's all like, Tommen betrayed us, and then she's standing on the neck, and Jaime's standing on the fingers, and people pointing this out with the trailers, and then they go, and they stand on top of the walls, and then they have more discussion, We're gonna go a little more in depth of what that discussion entails. And then they go to the throne room, and they meet Euron, and they discuss some more.
Cersei's got plans.
Does she, though?
Yeah,
What are
no.
her plans? She's unclear on how many kingdoms she actually rules at the moment. That's not a good start. I'm the Queen of Seven Kingdoms. 3. 3 kingdoms. That just seems like a really good way to start off the season, that Cersei is still delusional and probably getting worse. She thinks that because she declared herself queen, people are going to listen. JB says to her, "What are you talking about? We're like the weak guys on the battlefield. You always want to be the ones that look the strongest, so you get more allies that way." And Cersei's just like, "No, it's cool. Don't you know I'm queen?"
I think it's shocking that she has that stable of a hold on the 3 kingdoms that she's still queen of. I mean, like, she's not. Her only claim is that she was married to the last king and everybody else has died. It has been a time of upheaval. There have been lots of wars, and yet, the Stormlands and the Riverlands and...
they have the Crownlands, the Riverlands, and the Westernlands.
Well, don't they technically have this? So they have the Stormlands also, and yeah, like you said. Yeah.
Okay.
They have the Crownlands, the Stormlands, and the Riverlands. And
the Westerlands.
Oh, Crownlands don't count.
Well, the Crownlands is kind of the capital.
Yeah, I don't think Crownlands count.
You can lump that in with probably the Stormlands.
Yeah.
So anyway, but all of those people are okay with Cersei being the queen right now.
I don't know if the Riverlands are okay, but you see in some scenes that they are actively enforcing that, so...
Yeah, there are still Lannister troops out there making people say they are part of the Seven Kingdoms, but I think we're going to see a lot of people crowning themselves soon.
Where's Edmure?
I can't imagine how she's going to try and get back most of the kingdoms. I mean, they laid this out in the Jon and the Sansa scene. There's no way the Lannisters are going north to take back past the neck to get back the north. Winters come. They can barely field an army. They're going to have trouble feeding themselves. And Cersei's got aggressive battle plans in mind.
Yeah, I understand Sansa's concern, but again, there's no way that the Lannisters are coming up to Winterfell to take that back. There's no way.
It doesn't necessarily have to be and I saw this in another comment. I'm sorry that I didn't write it down somewhere. And they said that it's not just about Cersei going north with an army. It's she blew up a sept. She just needs to make a play.
There's not a lot of wildfire in the north, last I checked. That one's going to be tough.
I mean, in the books, I don't know how successful it is, but, she sends up kettle blacks to stir up.
To overthrow the Watch. Yeah.
Yeah, overthrow the Watch.
I don't know. That's seems like a tough plan to pull off.
One thing that I noticed about the scene with Cersei and Jaime, it's like a giant information dump of what's been going on in this story.
That's a good point.
To get you ready for the season. It's like Tyrion is now the hand of Daenerys Targaryen. As you know, he murdered our father.
We need
and did all this other
we need
stuff.
A narrator.
Last time on Game of Thrones.
It seems like everybody kind of knows what goes on in every single kingdom now. She knows all about Jon and Sansa in the north and all this other stuff. It was a lot of information.
I also like the construction of the conversation between Cersei and Jaime, and you saw this in Jaime's face at the end of the last season. He's really not on board with anything Cersei's saying. He's still sticking with her, but there's a schism coming between the two of them in a big way. Cersei refused to even really talk about what happened with their kids, just saying that Tommen's suicide was he betrayed her. What is that? What is that about?
As you know, our son died, and all our kids. And so it's there's a dynasty that lasts 1,000 years. And it's what dynasty?
We have no kids.
And she's a dynasty for us then. And all I thought in that moment was this reminds me of that Seinfeld episode of the Christmas tree. It's a dynastus for the rest of us.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. But if that kind of crazy's on her mind, this is something that I think I brought up during one of the trailer discussions. Is Cersei going to be somebody that allies with the White Walkers when they come through, or tries to? She's crazy enough.
Here's what I think happens. That because they do the foreshadowing that Jon says about dragonglass is more valuable now than gold. Mm-hmm. I think that because of the trailers that they show Daenerys capturing Casterly Rock, that Tyrion's going to be like, this is the important place because all the gold is here. And so we should fortify it. And so they leave Dragonstone and like semi-abandon it. And and then they take King's Landing, and Cersei retreats to Dragonstone for season 7. And that's where like she holds up and she holds all the dragon glass. And that's the big conflict for next season. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but that seems like the game of Risk sort of thing, of moving your pieces around sort of deal.
Yeah.
Just a guess.
Because as we'll talk about this later, people apparently just kind of up and abandoned Dragonstone.
Yeah. Well, it's also that
Well, who's gonna pay them?
all the gold is apparently run out in the Westerlands, so I don't know if they'll hand wave that, because Tywin says that in season 4.
They explicitly say it, right?
Yeah, or if they're just gonna be like,
And that information does not get to Tyrion.
yeah, so maybe Tyrion doesn't know. I don't know.
But he has a sewer system.
He can sell that.
Which is technically the same plot that they use in the books to get into Marine.
Yeah.
Right.
Is to invade through the sewer
Right.
system.
Well, they used
Like,
it in
that's what they're
in
gonna
the
do.
show too.
Yeah.
In the show, they used Grey Worm going into, like, he travels through the sewers to
Right.
get there. He just sort of, like, walks through, and then he hands them a bag of rocks and weapons, and they take control. And Dany walks in. Euron?
Yeah.
Euron? Can we talk about his music? They didn't change it.
Still
They
sad trombone.
It's still sad trombone. Wah, 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 wah.
It's not crazy enough for him. It needs like tambourines and like guitars breaking.
I need to make a post on this image. This is the silence in the show. What is that on the front of his ship?
What is that on the front? From afar, it looks like a giant
Looks like a dragon, kinda.
frog.
It looks functional.
Ah.
I think it's a spring-loaded like chain cannon of sorts.
Oh, I was disappointed. I thought it was going to be like the golden shower phallus boat thing.
What?
No.
Nope.
Aeron's ship, the Golden Storm in the books.
That's not that.
It looks like a tentacle with claws.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like the maybe the Kraken's.
Oh yeah, they do have beaks. I can confirm.
It looks like there's a giant, like there's some kind of contraption behind it because of the way that it's dark
It's, like,
and it's
hollow.
enclosed,
Like
and,
inside
a
it.
mechanism. Yeah. Like there's more that meets the eye.
Robots in disguise.
Transformers.
Accurate.
You see, I was just thinking, well, I don't know if it's supposed to grapple on something, but it looks like there's more going on there than just the front of a ship. They also hit it from the trailers.
I didn't know this
part of the ship.
That's true.
At this point in the story, at least in the show, Euron's crazy is no match for Cersei's crazy.
I think that's a fair point. Euron is dressing crazier, like he fell through a mall and came out the other side, but I mean, like, what has he really done so far that's off the chain? Like, he mostly just killed Balon and then built a bunch of ships from trees we don't know about.
Like Rumpelstiltskin. He's the Rumpelstiltskin of ships.
Yeah, he just made ships from nothing. So what'd you guys think of Euron's conversation with Cersei and their bargain?
I was proud of Cersei for not just taking that, since she said, we're going to ally with whoever we can get kind of thing. And then she was like, no, that's not good enough.
Yeah, I agree.
But in a way that made Euron want to go prove himself.
I also like the moment where Euron says something about, you're not very humble.
Yes.
Or whatever. You're the Lord of a King. And Lena tilts her head to the side and smiles. I thought that was a great moment between the two of them, showing maybe there's actually some chemistry between the two as being sort of the Mad King and the Mad Queen aspect to it. Maybe Euron is actually possibly a better fit for Cersei than Jaime is. He's like, you should try murdering your brother.
Especially now.
I mean, they have similar...
He's totally not her type, though.
Not blonde?
Yes, not blonde.
You mean not her brother?
They have similar goals, right? I mean, Cersei's a dynasty for me, and Euron's also a dynasty for me. It's not going to last 1,000 years.
I don't see the point really in the conversation with Cersei and Jaime was basically we can't have a dynasty because we don't have any children. I don't really see the attraction in Euron marrying Cersei if she's not going to give him any children.
To betray her and take the kingdom for himself?
Yeah, which I guess
I don't see...
would normally not be a thing, except for that Cersei just kind of did it. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't see Euron that interested in... He doesn't seem like he really cares about furthering his line.
He just wants to go murder them.
Yeah, I mean...
that's really what he says. He's like, these people left with all my ships. Like, I want to murder him. You want to murder your brother, so we should go murder together.
Well, even in the chapter of The Forsaken, which was read aloud by George at BeltCon last year, Euron impregnates Fulia Flowers, and he's like, alright, good job with that. Let's tie her to the mast.
Yeah, he's not a good guy.
I'm tired of the prep. Pilo has this good interview about like what his character is like, and he's like, well, in the books, Euron is more of like a demon, but in the show, I'm just playing him more like just a madman. Like he wants to go, he's crazy. Sort of like you never know what he's going to do next. He's kind of a mix between Joffrey and Ramsay in that he has Ramsay's violence and cruel streak, but you've also got like the childish, impatient nature that Joffrey has, and so it's a mix between the two rather than its own thing. So Euron in the books show totally different.
He also promised Cersei he was going to bring her a gift.
Yeah, many a thread.
What do we think the gift's going to be?
Many of thread have sprung from this gift.
He's going to bring her a GIF.
What?
A high-quality gift.
A high-quality GIF. Many a thread have popped up saying that he's going to try and capture Tyrion.
Because he is the gift.
He is the gift.
He
is the gift. I'm not sure about that.
I don't know.
He could just have Dragonbinder and just present her a dragon. Well, if he's gonna be as brutal and childish as Ramsay and Joffrey, it's gonna be like he's gonna deliver body parts or something crazy like that, like a platter of.
Well, Jorah's got an arm. He doesn't really need.
That's
Perfect.
True.
Got an arm.
All right, now he needs another arm.
Can we talk about Euron's costume?
Oh boy, can we?
Did you guys notice what he has on his shirt?
Is it a tag from Hot Topic?
Yeah. Wait. All these stars?
He has stars on his black shirt. He is literally of the night.
Oh.
He's Dark Star. He's Dark
Finally.
Many Star.
Yeah. They shot up.
I think they're starfish.
I feel like a lot of the shots of him were very far away.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Wouldn't you want to zoom in on the crazy? He doesn't look as crazy from far away. He just looks like he's flailing.
Yeah.
They mentioned in the interview that D&D, or after the episode, that they like his swagger or something.
He has that Jack Sparrow swagger.
He has more of a swagger to him than other characters do, and they like that about his character. So they want to show the swagger by having farther away shots.
Okay. I guess I can see that.
This is interesting. Like, he and Cersei are having similar fashion choices then.
Everyone has a similar fashion choice.
Well, I mean, yes, it's all black, but Euron has the cutout designs in his that would be like a leather jerkin. And then Cersei, but her dress, her black dress that she's wearing during the map scene with Jaime, has cutouts like that in it. They're not stars, but it's the same thing. She has this overdress that has cutouts that you can see the fabric underneath.
They're meant for each other.
Yeah.
The yin to each other's yang.
The couple that dresses together conquers together.
Let's go murder them.
I kind of feel bad for Jaime.
But like maybe now Jaime will finally be free.
Maybe. We hope so.
Maybe.
Free to charge a dragon.
So, next scene, we go into the Riverlands and see Arya traipsing through the woods on a horse. So she's not traipsing, sorry, the horse is traipsing. And she hears singing.
Beautiful singing.
Beautiful singing.
Angelic singing.
Arya goes so Arya's in the Riverlands and she sees Ed Sheeran. And she goes and sits around to sing songs by the campfire and like talk about life and stuff.
As Brendan Beefish was saying, the most wholesome Lannister soldiers ever.
Wasn't that Bookshelf stud? Wasn't that Michael saying that?
Maybe. They all have newborn babies and are 2 days from their retirement.
Bookshelves? Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what Michael said.
May he rest in peace.
Jeez, the news on all of this is brutal.
Huh?
Forbes, yes, Ed Sheeran's Game of Thrones cameo was a mistake.
What?
What? Really? Everyone was hyping it up. Okay, everyone was hyping up that and, like, trying to speculate on what would happen to that, like, before. Because this was not it was a surprise of how it would happen, but people were saying that, like, Ed Sheeran was going to appear a while ago, and there were all these, like, photoshops of it. Of him on, like, babies.
Not everyone is singing praises for Ed Sheeran's Game of Thrones cameo. Here's a breakdown of Ed Sheeran's scene on Game of Thrones, if you're still confused.
It like, wasn't that bad.
It wasn't. I mean, like...
It was fine.
I didn't
think it was bad, like, at all. I was just like, well,
sense.
they didn't give him any lines because he's, like, not an actor and doesn't act. And I was like, that's fine. He's there and he sings and everyone else will act.
And they did. I thought it was an excellent scene.
Yeah, I like that scene.
I didn't know why Arya walked up to him and sat down with him.
Yes.
Because, like, her entire life has been about her distrusting strangers.
So I was waiting for it to go south the whole time. Like, she was shifty-eyed. I was expecting it to go south, but it went more easterly than that. She was a little suspect, but they were all friendly. And
they were cool dudes.
Apparently had no ill intent whatsoever. And I don't know. I was a little frustrated by the fact that they made a point to ask her if she was old enough to drink.
Yeah.
But never once seemed shocked that there's this young girl who's riding by herself in the winter along the King's Road.
I think it's more strange that she looks... I mean, she has, like, all this stuff on. She has a sword. She looks highborn. And I think it's more out of place to have it be, like, a highborn girl. I'm sure that there are women who walk along the King's Road or, like, are on the King's Road by themselves. Usually. It's just, she's, like, she's just, like, really decked out.
She tells them where she's going, and they're just, like, telling her stories about how King's Landing, they thought it was going to be so great, and it really wasn't. It's like, nobody thought it was weird at all that she was there.
Surely there are traders and travelers going past on the road.
Yeah, not every woman can know a man to be there and protect her. Even in Westeros, where they know that there's, like, that risk.
Two roads diverged in a Riverland wood. And
He's doing it.
And I took the hare less traveled, the rabbit less campfirey.
And I took the King's Road most traveled of all the roads in the Seven Kingdoms.
To kill the queen.
YOLO. Cougar Hill.
I was wondering what you guys interpreted as why Arya sat down and stayed and sort of had a good time with them. What do you think was going through her head as she did that after killing all the Freys?
Here's some good enemy people. Like, the other Lannisters they portrayed in the show before have been, like, jackholes. Like, you have the people that Robb kills at the battle, like, like, in season 2, where you see Robb appear out of the darkness with Grey Wind.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Ghost?
And they kill the Lannister soldiers, and they're, like, taking a pee in the woods and stuff, and, like, laughing about crap, something misogynistic. And it's like, oh, here's the exact opposite. It's like, we can't have a balance. We gotta go with, like, I'm a new father and we're all wholesome. Or we go with, like, I'm a huge asshole.
Yeah, there were, like, those Lannister soldiers in the brothel that meet Oberyn Martell a few seasons ago. R.I.P. Oberyn.
Yeah.
Clinically dicks.
Exactly.
I had a couple possibilities in my head. One was she crossed a bunch of people off her list all at once, and maybe she felt like that was a burden off of her. She can, like, be herself a little bit again, be a little more trusting. It's like, well, here's my list, half of it's crossed off. Okay. So she's going to have a good time, hang out with some people, come back to her humanity a little bit.
Problem, because she's using her faceless man technology in order to achieve this revenge. And I feel like she can't have it both ways. There's a reason why the faceless men are no one. They're not supposed to be using this technology for personal reasons. And yet here she is back in Westeros, and she's using this really powerful magic to get her revenge. And I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. There has to be a consequence to that. She can't be Arya and have all the faceless men powers.
I suppose. Depends if they still want to have that jacking character.
In the books, yeah. In the show, I don't think they care.
Yeah, pretty much.
The other possibility I was thinking about was maybe Arya is kind of experiencing buyer's remorse for the path she's taken. That after killing the Freys and poisoning all of them, I imagine she probably felt like she was going to feel fantastic. And then we cut to her on the horse and she's just kind of like same stone face, still kind of just walking down the road. And then she sits down and she, has a good time with these guys. They tell her their stories. She connects with people again. And I wonder if, like, in her head, it was kind of like, well, what I really want is my family back. I don't want to really kill a bunch of people. I just miss what it was like when I was a kid. And she's kind of thinking about the two paths that she took. The path less traveled.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a better point.
Yeah.
If that, I think they could have also sold it that maybe she was hungry, even though she just came from a huge feast where she could have taken as much food as she wanted. But, maybe it was more like urgent that she sat down and had a meal.
Or she was just thinking about killing them, and it was like a big turning point for her that she didn't kill Lannisters, that she's not Stoneheart from the books.
I think
that she just kind of relented a little bit.
I don't know. She just killed an entire room full of people. I mean, they're
But people that
Freys.
wronged her, people that directly wronged her, these guys didn't do anything to her. But maybe that's the point that they're going to have her go down this time, is that she's going to regain her humanity after essentially throwing it away for most of the series.
Is she going to run into the Brotherhood?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Because they're on, the same route, aren't they?
It wasn't snowing on Arya, was it? It was snowing on them.
It was snowy in the woods,
Yeah.
but it wasn't snowing, I think.
That's another Robert Frost poem, by the way.
Snow in the woods?
Stopping by woods on a snowy evening, because I might not have to sing it like in elementary school. It's like, whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though I'm not gonna sing the whole song. To watch these woods fill up with snow. To watch these woods fill up with snow. I think I skipped to the end.
Well done, Eliana. That was great.
You know where they should have had Ed Sheeran? He should have been in the Citadel so he could sing, I'm in love with the shape of poo.
Wow.
You guys,
I push and pull like a maester do.
this is Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I'm gonna quickly plug Davos Fingers, where they do in fact make songs on their podcast. Those are actually great songs. They're really hilarious and actually good,
That's
unlike
true.
us.
They're really good.
Not that we're not catchy. I mean, it's Ed Sheeran. Clearly it's catchy. Greatest hits from us.
Speaking of the Brotherhood without banners,
Yeah, speaking of that, so we go a little further north in the Riverlands and we revisit an old house with many memories, together with Sandor and Thoros and his man bun and Beric and his eye patch.
and his hairline.
Yes, that too.
So the best thing about this scene to me is that a lot of the dialogue in the show doesn't really work out as much as I would have liked, but D&D seemed to have a real grasp of writing Thoros, Beric, and Sandor, most of all. Sandor, classic chicken line. That's not in the books, but it is in the show.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Iconic.
They have a good grasp of Sandor's character, whereas other ones, they kind of struggle. But here, if you have a good Beric, Sandor, Thoros scene, you've got gold in the show. It can be written with dialogue, it can be cinematic, it can be anything you want it to be, and it's probably going to turn out to be pretty good. So, good scene.
Big clap for everyone on the internet for catching
Everyone on the internet.
that nicest of catches, in which Sandor is digging graves, harkening back to the theory that the gravedigger on the Quiet Isle is secretly Sandor Clegane.
Yeah. So I did like the Thoros asking Sandor to look into the fire.
How did Sandor not punk him?
I know several of us expected Sandor to just make something up.
Say like he sees like Thoros' man bun and it's on fire and he's glad about it or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly clear what he saw too. He saw what sounded like Eastwatch coming down and the armies of the dead coming through. From what we've seen before, the vision. Well, maybe this is something that's good about Sandor seeing it that other characters don't. He doesn't know anything about the North, so he can't make guesses about what the identity is. He can just describe what he sees accurately. Whereas what a lot of other characters mess up with seeing things in the flames is they try to tie definite identities they already know to what they're seeing. And that's kind of where the misunderstandings creep in, especially from like Melisandre.
Well, what Melisandre sees in her flames is fairly vague. It's just Towers by the Sea, which we covered in episode 4. Sandor's is very specific, though. He says he sees the wall. Like outpost by a wall. At the edge of the wall, he sees an army of the dead passing a mountain that looks like an arrowhead.
Mm-hmm. I forget where, somewhere else in this episode, they name dropped Eastwatch. I think John did.
Yeah, it was at the beginning.
Tormund is going to Eastwatch. John commands him to go there.
Because like that's on the same coast as Hardhome, so that's what I expect they will hit, or something like that.
There's also a post. It's good and like really points to it being Eastwatch because it's mentioned earlier in the episode, so it becomes this callback. And that post of was Melisandre right for once was by user Painter Joe, PAINTERJO, and they say, was Melisandre right for once? Talk about these various visions of the Towers by the Sea, and they even talk about a vision in A Clash of Kings, where Daenerys is in the House of the Undying. From a smoking tower, a great stone beast took wing, breathing shadow fire.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about the dead things in the water in the letter from Eastwatch to Jon. Or the letter, not from Eastwatch, the letter that is going to Hardhome. So, yeah, they posit, have we just been overthinking this Eastwatch thing? And maybe it really is at Eastwatch. Who knows?
I don't think so, because it's different in the book. Like, Melisandre, we already know she's wrong. In the show, the fleet makes it back to Hardhome, which she predicts in the books is not going to happen at all. They're all dead, she says, and everything. We know that's actually false in the books because those ships arrive back down at Braavos. 2 of them that Arya discovers, they're part of the Lyseni group. Melisandre says they're all dead, so we know she's wrong about that. At some point, I think D&D read through the books and are just like, this is what I expect will happen, so I'm going to make it happen in the show.
That'd be pretty funny.
Like, because it is their interpretation of it.
That's true.
So they are reading it through, and they're coming up with what they expect to happen and writing that. So maybe they saw it was Towers by the Sea, and they're like, this would be a good place for it to happen. It could also be logistical reasons. Maybe the attack isn't going to come at Eastwatch. Maybe it's going to be a diversion. You would expect them to break through Castle Black, because that's the memorable location.
Especially because that's where Brandis went through.
Yeah, so maybe Thoros' vision in the flames is wrong as well.
Or Sandor's.
Or yeah, maybe the vision that Sandor has is what the Night King wants him to. Night King in the books.
Night King.
Night's King in the books. Night King in the show. Yeah, he wants him to see this. So I don't know. Maybe maybe she's right. Maybe I don't know.
That's sort of the existential problem of all these visions that are guiding Beric and Thoros, and they get into this in the dialogue with Sandor. They don't know what Beric's still alive for. They don't know why they're being told to go north, other than generically sort of the others are coming back, but they don't know what they're supposed to do. Is somebody guiding them? Are they just kind of making it up on their own? And especially with the article, is it the Times article where George talked about the Firewhites?
Not the Times, Time magazine.
Time magazine article where George confirmed that Beric Dondarrion is a Firewhite, meaning he is still dead and he is reanimated somehow by fire. So it could be that there's nothing special about Beric, and there is nothing special about Thoros. It could just be he was brought back to life using a thing that already exists in this world, and they're attaching meaning that's not really supposed to be there. And somebody's just sort of tricking them into going north for whatever reason.
One of the great things about the scene is the cinematography from when they're outside. And you can see the swords being stuck into the ground. They're standing up on end. But Sandor and Beric are picking up shovels, and they're just taking care of the people in the land. And that's kind of the thing that the Brotherhood used to be known for. In the books at this point in time, Thoros says that since Stoneheart took over, they've kind of lost their way. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, that's also true in the show now, where they're all focused on the war to the north, but the Brotherhood was always about taking care of the people.
He's reminding them that's an interesting interpretation.
And that's kind of the thing that's really nice about this is Sandor is bringing it back to their roots and taking care of the land and not getting lost in their mission. It's a story about humanity and people.
All right. And finally, we get to the last scene. Iconic. I'm going to say it's iconic. In which Daenerys finally makes it back to Dragonstone, where her story first began.
No storm this time.
Daenerys starts... That's true, no storm. It's a clear, sunny day. Bright, like the future, maybe. And she's on ships, and they land, and great shot of the island, and for the first time we really see what Dragonstone looks like. Cool volcanic rock, and then, as someone pointed out in the previous Quill and Tankard, she touches her hands upon the beach, similar to an iconic scene in one of the Shakespeare plays that I can't remember. Go listen to Quill and Tankard, episode 3, where we talk about the second trailer for Game of Thrones. Anyway, and then she makes her way finally into the castle, and
I really liked the decoration on the outside of the architecture at Dragonstone. We hadn't really seen that detail before, and like the dragons carved on either side of the door. I felt like that was really nice because it had a little bit of a foreign feel to it. Like, you know, this is a Targaryen aesthetic, not a Westerosi aesthetic.
They were the dragons themselves were oddly like blocky. Almost like
it's like Art Deco,
like South American kind of like,
or
you see,
like Aztec,
But you'd expect, based on the Valyrians, what they're based on, that would be something Roman or Greek. But instead, they went for a totally different style, which I thought was interesting.
Well, I know the production designer, so a few years ago, I went to go see her talk at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum, and she talks about being inspired by some of Frank Lloyd Wright's phase, I think, that he went through that was inspired by Mesoamerican style for, and that's what she pulled from when creating the Myronese pyramids. And of course, as we know, like Old Gis and Old Valyria have a lot of history together, so it could make sense that the Valyrian aesthetic and the choice for how they did the production and the sets of Dragonstone would pull from that as well.
It's called Mayan Revival.
Yes, the Mayan Revival. And that was Deborah Riley.
I also like the architecture of Dragonstone from when they open the gates and you see it from above. It almost looks like a dragon's neck coming down from the body, and you're walking in the mouth up into the stone dragon of Dragonstone.
Nice,
like into its belly. I thought that was a really nice way of showing that off. It also looked like the Serpent's Pass from Avatar.
Oh yeah, it does. I was thinking the Great Wall.
I mean that too, but I like Avatar better.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that I feel as though most of the scenes I remember from Dragonstone previously where Stannis was there, it was either nighttime, it was really sad and gloomy and cloudy and stuff, and then it just makes such a huge contrast to when Dany shows up, and
the weather just matches their demeanors.
Yeah, even though it's winter.
They did have that beautiful CGI sunset scene where Stannis gets the letter from the Night's Watch that we didn't bring up in the cinematography scene, but that's where I felt like the CGI stuff helped.
Yeah.
But I liked with the set how they all merged right into the painting room as it existed, Stannis. Dany walks behind the throne and she walks into the painted table room, and it's like a seamless flow of sets, which I thought was really nice continuity between the series, even though we didn't get all the rest of the sets. It's Stannis would have been here and all this other stuff from earlier seasons with Davos.
Yeah.
I got some tinfoil for why the weather was nice. There were no Baratheons left on the island. They took the gloom with them.
Oh, yes,
that is
because
true.
they're the Storm Lords.
Yeah.
Well,
they're gone.
The castle was empty.
How is there not squatters? Just somebody go in.
There's somebody there ripping out all the copper.
Yeah, this is Westeros. It's war.
There should have been squatters, but yeah.
All the dragon glass, they get there and all the dragon glass is gone because the squatters have stolen it.
There's skateboarders outside in the pool.
There's one guy in the very top going, "Squatters' rights, bro. I found it."
And anarchy spray paint all over the place.
Tying in with what we learned from Sam in the Citadel, that there is a mountain of dragon glass with no Baratheon soldiers left. There was no mining even though Stannis had talked to Sam about it. It was sort of implied that he was sending word back to his forces, start sending all the dragon class you can north. I guess that order did not get there before they fled.
Do you get the feeling that he really left many people behind?
No, he took everybody, I guess. In the books, I don't think that will happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that Dany lands there, and it's like, you could have just landed at this place for like years, and you could have been back in Westeros. So it kind of feels earned because it's been a long time coming for Dany to land. But at the same time, it's like, it would have been nice if there was something that she has now that she didn't have before that helped her acquire Dragonstone.
It's true. She just walked in.
Like dragons?
Yeah.
Her dragons.
Yes, like dragons, or like maybe Dothraki. I don't know how the Dothraki would help.
Yeah, like if she showed up and they wouldn't open the doors to her, and she's just like, all right, fine, and she just climbs on
Gets
her
on
dragon.
Drogon, yeah.
But that costs CGI. That's budget money. Yeah.
Or if it's
That's
like that
budget
one...
money.
That one scene in the temple going back to Avatar: The Last Airbender, the temple of Roku, where they have to firebend it, into the little holes, and then that's what opens the door, and then she could do that with the Dargans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They could have done a small montage where they're just a tiny little bit of killing on like some battlements or something of unsullied soldiers, and then they cut to like Daenerys, like just you see a profile of her in like the ship, and Varys or Tyrion says, "Our scouts we've taken the castle, Your Grace," and then they cut to her in the ship, and then she lands.
The way they did it, it makes it look like Dany took the castle instead of having people go out and do it for her. Kind of symbolically, it's a Targaryen walking in first everything.
Yeah, like she wanted to be the one to go first because it's been a long time coming for her. But at the same time,
it makes more sense what you're saying, but yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they just sent the dragons in first.
Ooh.
Oh, like how Rob used to send Grey Wind.
Yeah.
Scout.
Where's Ghost?
Yes, true. Finding passes. Do you think they found the jars this time? Maybe next episode? They didn't show them. Where's the jars?
Yeah, I think they forgot about them.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think
that's the highlight.
So I understand why on an aesthetic level they didn't do that, where they had them fight for Dragonstone, because the way that this landing was filmed was just a very
simple,
serene, simple,
peaceful.
Quiet. It was peaceful. It was coming home, and it was evocative because of that quietness to it.
It wasn't a lot of dialogue.
There was no dialogue until the very end.
Now it begins. Is that what
Wait,
she says?
now it ends? Arthur Dane?
Now we start. Now we begin. It begins or something. Let me look it up. Shall we begin?
There we go.
That's it.
Yes.
Yep.
We
cool.
got that.
And then it ended. Shall we begin?
I thought there was something cool in that part of that scene where Dany is walking in, flanked by Tyrion. Dany walks in and she looks at the throne, then she goes into the map room, she looks at the map, she looks at Westeros, looks at the knights. Tyrion the entire time is like a little kid. He's wide-eyed looking at all the dragon sculptures when he's walking in. And then right in the map room, she's looking at all this stuff, she's like picking up stuff. He's just flat staring at a statue of the dragon. I thought that was an interesting way of showing where their priorities are at the moment. Tyrion still wants those dragons. He wants to know more about them. Dany's focused on Westeros at the moment. And this could be maybe how Tyrion becomes like foreshadowing he becomes a dragon rider, or maybe he steals one or something like that.
Yeah. What I liked about the way they showed how Daenerys is focused on Dragonstone, she walks into the throne room, but she never sits on the throne yet.
That's true. She goes right by it.
She goes right by it. She goes to look at the map. She doesn't even stop to rest after getting off this ship in this long journey. She's like, all right, back to work.
Does she have her chain yet? I don't think she has her chain.
Oh yeah, you're right. I don't think they depicted her with that.
Yeah, chain's coming up.
They did a close up on the thing in her hair. It appears to be a tiny lizard skull.
That's a statement.
You know the thing we were talking about that.
Yeah, I remember because I was still wondering what it was. That is a statement.
Flintstone aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looked like. It looked like a dragon skull of some kind, or some kind of small lizard.
This reminds me of that episode of Mitchell and Webb. Are we the baddies? Our caps, they've got skulls on them.
It's a great one.
If you haven't looked it up, it's a funny clip. We'll link it.
Mitchell and Webb.
She did have a great outfit.
I also liked with Daenerys's costume in this. I hadn't noticed this previously, although Walda has informed me that I was just being inobservant. It's that on her shoulders, it looks like she has scales, and with the coloring and the dragon's symbols and the statues everywhere, it really pops this time. She's really dressing like a dragon.
Yes. Now it looks more wingy. Red. Now it's in the house colors. Yes.
Proper dragon scales. And then again, following this theme with the shoulder pads. Accentuated shoulders.
Oh yeah, gonna double back quickly to Jamie and Cersei. They both have matching lion embroidery on their shoulders in that scene where they're atop King's Landing.
And I'm sure when we get to seeing Ilaria that she will have also impressive shoulders.
Oh, true. So now that we've talked about all the different scenes, there was an interesting post that I'm going to load by user 11Wiggin11. Spelled 11Wiggin11. Oh, 11. Anyway, the title of the thread is A Reversal of Scenes in S7E1 Could Have Made It the Most Incredible Episode. And here, 11Wiggin11 suggests switching the order of Arya's attack on House Frey with Daenerys' homecoming to solve the pacing issues. And, you open with the silent walk, the banner tearing, and the words, "Shall we begin?" And then it kicks off into the rest of the episode, catch up with the other characters, and then suddenly you're faced with Lord Frey towards the end, who you believe is dead. So then the feast commences, and the show goes out with "Tell them winter came for House Frey." So 11Wiggin11 is saying that ending with the winter has come would be a powerful and natural progression to the climax.
Well, there are a couple issues with that. One is the Lannisters that Arya meets up with happens after that event occurs, so you can't flip that. Also, another thing we didn't talk about is Arya delivers that message, and then Jaime says something in their scene with Cersei where he's like, "Whoever killed these people are obviously not friends of ours. We have no idea who they are." And it's like, well, apparently Arya's message never did get out to anybody that the North remembers.
I mean,
so
who are the, people who were there going to tell? There's also, go ahead.
I guess the girls. Guess nobody believed him.
What the top comment says regarding that pacing, user swell-fellow says, "I think it might have been weird to put Dany's first because if the cold open ended on 'Shall we begin?' I would have been waiting the rest of the episode for Dany to show back up."
That's a good point.
And that they'd like the opening with Arya as a wrap-up. But that they liked the opening with Arya, they would have liked that as a wrap-up for season 6.
That's true. That would have worked better there.
Anyway, so any concluding thoughts about this episode?
It was pretty decent. It was a nice table setter, which is ironic because it ends on a setting where they're about to set the table. So, there you go.
We're about to eat dinner.
I already like it, I think, better than anything I saw in season 6.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm thinking, sorry.
I don't know.
I don't remember, but I mean, I did like it.
I thought it was a very good premiere.
Yeah, I liked it. The only things that I really disliked were just the approach of between Jon and Sansa and I think they could have done a little more of focus on Euron. But otherwise, I thought it was a really good episode.
More Euron? You wanted more Euron.
He did have the only plot element of moving pieces around in the episode where something changed.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the conclusion of these characters going forward with where they are. They did have the Dragonglass cure stuff in the book, which sets it up as oh, Dragonglass is a cure for everything. It kills White Walkers. It kills whites, or maybe that's just fire. It now cures grayscale. It reminds me of Torgo's executive powder in Futurama, where it's going to be the cure for everything.
Oh my god. And that the superhero paste?
Cersei is now mom. Except she killed her 2 sons.
Just slapped them to death. I thought it was a pretty great premiere episode. I thought they set up all the plots they wanted to. I thought they got exposition in without really bashing you over the head with it. They got through it pretty fast in ways that seemed more or less natural. We saw all the characters we wanted to. And I think they left us on a really good hype note with Daenerys and Tyrion finally in Dragonstone.
Yeah.
I mean, that we've been waiting for that the entire time, and now it's here.
I we saw all the characters we wanted to, and none of the ones we didn't.
Yeah, hate to admit it. Yeah, that's true.
It's true. Dorn was missing. Oh, man.
I mean,
damn.
We focused on the big three plus Arya, so the big five.
Isn't this like everybody?
This is everybody
in the show that's left now, except for like the Dorn, like Dorn and Olenna.
There's the Greyjoys, the other Greyjoys.
Yeah, Dorn, Olenna, and the other Greyjoys. That's the only.
But those are all tied up in Those are all tied up in Dany's plot. They've joined her. So as she goes forward, they will come with her.
There could have been like a little cutscene while they were on the ship, like to just add them in. Just remember that they're here.
The sand snakes randomly stabbing someone.
They just didn't want to have the sand snakes in at all, I guess. But weak characters will never rule premieres again.
We sadly did not get Daario ruling Meereen, whatever that's like.
I think we'll get a cutscene at the the epilogue at like the final montage of the story where we see everybody in their like final places, and there will be like a cut to Daario and Meereen like ruling that they may have filmed at the end of last season, just like him sitting on the black ebon bench, and he's got like women on his side, and he's like dropping grapes into his mouth, and it's like, I'm Daario, the highest ruler of Meereen.
It's good to be the king.
He's finally gone Tyrashi. He's dressing like a blue banana. I'd be okay too.
Were we supposed to do predictions for next episode?
I thought we talked about the future. We talked about the future and what we want to.
All right.
Good
enough.
Where we think they're going.
I dropped my prediction earlier about the future of next season.
Right, guys.
I think we went farther than anybody.
Predictions for the end of the series.
Yeah, what are you looking forward to?
For predictions, I mean, Littlefinger's going to do Littlefinger things.
Hashtag just Littlefinger things.
He's going to be creepy.
And more sick burns from Sansa.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Every
Kissed
episode,
by
if he
fire.
gets yeah. Every episode, if somebody puts him down, I'll be so happy.
Can we start calling her like Snarky Stark?
Oh. Sons of Snark.
Sansa the Snarky.
She is so full of snark.
Welcome. All right, outro. That should just be our outro. All right, guys. This has been a episode of Maester Monthly's The Quill and Tankard. I've been your host, Eliana, aka Glass Table Girl.
I've been another one of your hosts, JoeMagician, aka Matt.
Oh boy, I've been Aaron, AdmiralKird.
And I'm Fat Walda.
And if you've liked this episode and what you've heard, please don't forget to subscribe, hit that, how Michael says it,
Slam that MF and like button.
Slam that MF and like button, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, check out our WordPress, it is maestermonthly.wordpress.com. You can even follow us on iTunes and on Google Play. Just
write us a review.
Write us a review on iTunes. Tell them about how we are. Have a great week. See you next week.